We're going to talk today about adjusting modules the right way.
The right way.
Two Grumpy Wizards have a way they adjust the module. We'll talk about that later. But
God, do they have a way?
Do they have a way?
You know, when you buy a pre-written module and you read through it and you're like, okay, that's how I'm going to play it. Most people who've been playing for a while, they go through it and go, nah, that's not going to work. This isn't going to suit my players. That's not going to suit my world. This isn't going to suit what we just did the game before or what's coming next. So you make adjustments. But that's what we're really talking about. How to adjust the module the right way so that it fits your world. The way we write modules is basically a reaction to how modules are written. We don't write modules the way that modules are really normally written. We know that people change them. When we went in, we knew people are going to modify this, people are going to make changes, some people even change the genres of the things. The way we produce the material is so that we know that it can be easily modified by GMs. That's why we don't include stats. We don't include certain thing. We only suggest the type of monsters and things that should be in there. It frees the DM up to actually make changes and to add things in and subtract things out of it. But when you're approaching, because you've played a lot more modules than I have, when you're approaching a model, what is it that you do first?
Well, first I find a module that I'm interested in, and there's tons. You can find tons of modules online, including ours, of course. So it's really easy these days to find a module. The harder part is finding a module you might like, right? Maybe that's a bit harder these days. What I find that a lot of modules tend to be is encounters. Oh, we got to have as many monster encounters in here as we can have. We got to have as much unique treasure as we can have, and just tie it together by the weakest story, right? That's not very compelling. It's really, just because a monster is different, has a different stat, doesn't make it very compelling. Is the bugbear that different from an orc? Stat-wise, no. Or actually combat style, no. In a D&D game, it's not that different. It's not, your players aren't going to be, oh wow, we're fighting a bugbear now. We fought an orc the other day. Oh my god, it's so original. They're not going to be that way. If you're going to have that bugbear, make him unique. Give him some power, give him an interesting personality that draws the players in. Maybe he's got a larger than life personality. Make those things unique in the module, so it's not just, oh, this is a slightly different combat encounter, because the players don't see that stuff. They don't see those things that make it different. Even with different powers of monsters, it's really not that big of a deal. What makes those powers a big of a deal is when you play them up in the game, when you role play those powers, right? Like we have a monster that it's called a Sarlakarn that bursts from the ground, and I've played it several times, and tendrils are whipping around and grabbing players, and trying to eat them, and squirting acid, and it's so fun thematically.
Yep.
The monster's fun thematically, and not just, oh, these mechanics. I mean, the mechanics aren't that interesting, really. The mechanics of any monster aren't that interesting. It's really how you play up the monster.
I've found when I have looked at modules, if you remove all the stats and all the sort of explanation,
there's not much module left.
So when we were developing Quest Givers, Scott and I was talking and said, what don't we like about modules? And so it's like our modules are kind of like the stuff that's not in other modules. So our modules are kind of like the negative space that you find in other modules.
Right.
Because it's generic and you can play it in anything. We can't include the stats because we don't know what game you're playing. But the most important part, the thing that people come back to your game, the flavor and the story is there.
Right.
I've got a background in screenwriting. Scotty's got a background in film. We know what, and you've been DMing a very long time, as I have. We know how to structure the stories and what kind of NPCs are going to work in what sort of situations.
Right.
So we give you all the things, so you don't need to worry about that sort of stuff. What I tend to find when I've looked at other modules, I look at a character which has nothing other than he's neutral evil and he wants to, kill all the orcs or whatever. How am I going? What's the personality of this person? What kind of dialogue am I going to be putting in here? And we did those sort of NPC videos where it's like we give them sample dialogue. So you may then, if you're adjusting a module, adjust it with dialogue options, because when you're in the heat of a game and you're worrying about what do I say next, that's what you've got there. Worry less about the stats. Stats are easy. You can make them up like this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly.
But dialogue is difficult. Dialogue is difficult to come up with on the fly. And that's what's nice to have that ready. So if you're going through a published module that doesn't have dialogue, which is most of them.
Almost everyone.
Almost everyone. Write out sort of just a little, this is the kind of thing that the guy would say, when the carriage is there. So that you've got something a touchstone that you can use to prompt you to give the kind of dialogue you want to have to push the story forward.
I find in a lot of published modules that it's very rules oriented, like towards the module, and I changed like 30, 40, 50% of that because I want it to be story oriented, and so maybe that'll be the skeletal structure of the module, but I'll change so much because there's not much story tacked on there. And with the dialogue options you were saying, yeah, some modules may have what the boss says or something, but for the most part, the important NPCs aren't really given any kind of dialogue or anything, so which that's different in our modules. A
lot of the times the way that things are marketed is like it's got 15 new magic items and 12 new monsters, and you're marketing all the things you don't want. Right.
That are like the stats of an orc, but it can spit acid or whatever. It's like, what I'm saying? It's like the stats are really the least interesting thing.
Why did I pay all this money for the monster manual with 1,000 monsters in it if you're going to give me another 12 to learn? I mean, it gets a bit silly.
Right.
And that's why we just cut out the stats, because this, for us, is pointless. We bring monsters with flavor that you can just use. You can just use it as a template from another monster in the monster manual, or bestiary, whatever you're playing. Tack it in there, and then you're just applying this flavor over the top of it.
Right. You've already got the crushed ice. You just need to pour the sauce on.
How do you adjust modules the right way?
Oh, what?
Modules.
Yeah. I turn them, I take them out of the pack, and I turn them up so I can read the letters. That's how I adjust it the right way.
Yeah. On the blue maps, oftentimes they write sideways.
Yeah.
So it's okay to turn the sideways.
Yeah.
That's the best way to adjust a module.
Right. So if you want to see what the special symbol is, turn it. You may have to turn the blue map.
You may have to turn it 5 times just to get it the right way. Okay.
Yeah.
Then you'll be able to read it properly.
That seems pretty obvious to me. I don't know. This kid must be dumb.
Yeah. He's one of these
really
dumbass kids.
Yeah.
I wish I could pay $50 to not have seen that. If only, like in the modern times, you could get envelopes filled with cash, but no one uses cash anymore. Send 50 Bitcoin. So we are actually quest givers.
Yes, we are.
We have a website, questgivers.com, where you can purchase our system neutral modules. We like to toot our own horn, so it comes across as like we're the greatest. But people there are actually reviews you can read where people actually say,
in detail, said stuff.
Have said the things that we're kind of saying. So we're not just sort of talking out of our own, caboose. There's my own horn. So thank you very much for people who have been supporting us, who help make this financially viable. It's like, I have come all the way across the world to be here with my friend.
Yeah.
Been friends for years, and only just met recently. So it's been a wonderful experience, and that's all thanks to people like you who purchase our products and have fun with them. If you're not having fun with them, please tell us so we can adjust them accordingly. But this knowledge, it costs money to put it on YouTube. So we thank you for that, and with that groveling and thanking, and we will now say see you on Friday.
Take care, everybody.